A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 159th episode of Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. Over 20 months ago, in April 2020, when the pandemic had just set in and schools had closed down, we at Notebook felt it was our duty to set up a platform for educators to connect meaningfully on, discussing problems they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning, and arrive at common solutions. Today, 159 episodes later, this platform has grown much bigger than we could have ever anticipated, thanks to your love and support. We have discussed extremely curricular topics here like digital learning, NEP and assessments, extracurricular topics like sports and theatre, topics like school finance, and even evolved topics like mental health. In a modern world, we are dealing with many problems and challenges beyond the scope of a single discipline. So there is a need for individuals to find solutions to a variety of challenges. Researchers and case studies reveal that to overcome these challenges, a multidisciplinary approach is a must. In the fast-moving world of today, marked by tremendous scientific and technological advancement, the fields of study across traditional boundaries have emerged. The curricular concept of connecting academic subject areas has got significant attention in recent years. In the first instance, nature and society are complex entities, and our innate curiosity to understand the elements and forces within them requires examination from the perspective of multiple disciplines. With urgent calls in recent years for educators to take up the role of educating students to their mission to serve the public good and social empowerment, multidisciplinary approach has emerged as a form of pedagogy in order to improve students' critical thinking skills, communication skills, appreciation of diversity, and understanding of social responsibility. Today, however, we take a deeper dive, find out different facets of what constitutes this new idea of multidisciplinary education. Our first speaker on this topic is Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. An avid reader and a passionate traveler, Achin has keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce, and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shiva, am I audible?
Loud and clear.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session. Now, imagine a doctor who is not exposed to the concept of empathy. He might succeed in becoming a very good doctor. However, he or she will fail to become an exceptional healer, having widespread respect among his patients. Similarly, say, if you look at any other profession, for instance, an architect who is yet to inculcate a habit of appreciating the history of beautiful artistic expression through monuments. He might become a professional architect, no doubt about it. However, he or she will again fail to become an exceptionally creative designer capable of making something which will actually make someone stop and appreciate the expression of beauty. Research has shown that compared to other scientists, Nobel laureates are much more likely to be also musicians, painters, printmakers, woodworkers, mechanics, electronic thinkers, at times poets, fiction writers. So they might be stalwarts in their own individual discipline, maybe physics, chemistry, medicine. But also, if you look at their wide spectrum of talent, they're so much interested in subjects like music or storytelling. I was reading about a very appropriate quote in this regard by Spanish Nobel laureate Santiago Ramon, who is considered the father of modern neurosciences because of his contribution to the subject, who said that it appears as though they are scattering, when of course, here as in they means he's referring to Nobel laureates. It appears as though they are scattering and dissipating their energies, while in reality, they're channeling and strengthening them. Now, if you look at any particular discipline, for instance, for example, let's take medicine. Statistics prove that the educational background of Nobel laureates in medicine are multidisciplinary and complex. For instance, as of 2018, Nobel Prize for Medicine has been awarded to around 216 individuals. Now, 3 of them have no undergraduate information. 12 of them have not obtained a doctoral degree. But most interesting part is that most of them have done their undergraduate majors in subject apart from medicine. So they ultimately achieved great success in career by obtaining something unique, something original, some kind of a breakthrough in medicine, in spite of the fact that most of them didn't do their undergraduates in medicine. Now, this intersection of discipline not only refers to the multi-subjective learning experiences in the education of a particular individual, but it also refers to teamwork. So cooperation in scientific research consists of the motivation of consistent interest and complementary integration of knowledge and ability. So in the process, of course, cooperation, application of multiple knowledge. Now, the most important part of cooperation is the intersection of discipline. And it can be used as an evidence of multidisciplinary importance. Now, how do we prove this? If you look at numbers, we discussed about 216 Nobel laureates. Now, the result illustrates, if you look at the numbers, it illustrates that single person awards account for only 37%. And multi-person awards account for the majority, which is around 63%. So it goes on to show that cooperation, in the importance of cooperation and how it is ubiquitous in medical research and practice. So the advantage of cooperation is to integrate the innovators in multiple disciplines and backgrounds. So the results reaffirm the importance of multidisciplinary education in medicine. So there's the curriculum of, if you look at working in a group, teamwork, and its importance. So medical talents require multidisciplinary knowledge, and in order to ensure that they come up with something original, they're able to solve a unique problem. It is very common to use subjects like be it physics, chemistry, engineering, mathematics to solve medical problems. Now we often, and so this is only one example. We all know that we often forget that people are primarily designed for action and not for listening to lectures, not for manipulating symbols, not for memorizing facts. In fact, educators have known this since, I think, at least since philosopher of education, John Dewey, advised the same in 1938. And I remember his lines, but he very, very aptly summarized it by saying that there should be brief intervals of time for quiet reflection provided for even the young. But they are periods of genuine reflection only when they follow after times of more overt action, and are used to organize and what has been gained in periods of activity, in which the hands and other parts of the body besides the brain are used. So learning, therefore, isn't about developing new knowledge and skills. It's also about learning to collaborate with others, recognizing what knowledge we have to offer and what gaps we must rely on others to help us fill. So in a community of knowledge, an individual, and I think this is really important, that today, if you look at the entire community, an individual is like a single piece in a jigsaw puzzle. And understanding where you fit requires understanding what we know and what others know that I don't. I think that is the most important part. So learning, one's own place in a community of knowledge requires becoming aware of all the knowledge which exists outside of yourself. And that's where interdisciplinary approach of acquiring liberal education becomes more relevant. And that's where skills like, in the first place that we discussed, skills like empathy and the ability to listen become more valuable to work. If you really want to work with others, it is really very important that we are patient listeners. It also means teaching critical thinking skills, not focusing just on facts, facilitating communication and exchanging ideas. I think a step in the right direction, as proposed in NEP 2020 also. Rather than making students choose only one subject for further studies, focus should be on identifying their strength through continuous multidisciplinary exploration, so that they could spend a majority of their time on subjects that align perfectly with their interest. And once the interest based on their strength is identified correctly, I think rest is bound to follow. The other part is that as I was reading about a psychologist and prominent creativity researcher, Dean Keith, who observed that rather than obsessively focusing on a narrow topic, creative achievers tend to have broad interest. In liberal education, exploration is not just a whimsical luxury. It's actually a central benefit. Learning stuff of secondary importance. I think when we learn something that basically is of secondary importance, then learning about oneself. The emphasis is on developing all capacities of a human being, be it intellectual, physical, emotional, aesthetic, and moral, very, very important, values, in an integrated manner. So with a visible change in this emphasis, even the assessment needs to introduce a criteria-based grading system to optimize the learning goals, where the learning goals are in cast in iron. Students are assessed not only on academic aspects, but also on the broad capacities and dispositions that are the goals of liberal education. Along with critical thinking, the faculty makes it a point to complement the curriculum learning through the magic of, for instance, analogical thinking, keeping students' interest in mind. We live in a society where the gap between the ideal, what we should do and practice is so immense that we could actually park a fleet of Boeing 777 in the existing space. And that's the reality. The other aspects in this particular topic is today, if you look at a topic like interdisciplinary education, I think academic institution, and not only I'm not confined to K-12, I think I'm referring more to higher education, colleges, university. I think they have a very interesting role in this particular topic. Because today, taking this path is not easy. Taking interdisciplinary path is not easy. But universities can actually boost interaction between researchers, and departments, researchers from various departments, through social spaces that actually promote this. Because it's a fancy term. Interdisciplinary is a buzzword in academic research and education. But very few universities are able to pay more than lip service to this concept. Indeed, the very nature of academia, at times I feel, and here I'm referring to universities, and not only our discussion is restricted to what happens in our country, but very global. Even most eminent universities across the globe, I think many of them, at times the way the curriculum is structured, of course, things are changing in the right direction, but at times it resists interdisciplinary. So we are trained to become experts on the most minute aspect of our subject, and are basically at times, you feel that we focus too broadly. At times, if you focus broadly or have too many interests, at times the student is criticized for being defocused. I was reading about Simon Goldhill, director of Cambridge Center of Research in Art, Social Science, and Humanities, who said that, and I think very nicely summarized, that we have people who know more and more about less and less. And went a step further to say that that's the definition of a PhD, knowing more and more about less and less. So this intense specialization prevents us from seeing the forest among the trees. So it is completely unsurprising that the cross-disciplinary efforts and interdepartmental initiatives often fail and do not go beyond initial superficial connections. So it is really unfortunate that in most institutions of higher learning, beyond undergraduate level, if you look at postgraduate or research scholars, they are mostly confined to their own departments. Most of the interaction, even social interaction, most of the time, they actually compartmentalize themselves. So basically what happens is that we begin preaching to the choir. We're preaching to the choir and feel affirmed that our style of thought is the only right way. The way in which we are trained and specialized shapes our identity and how we process the world beyond our academic discipline. So not only do we develop specialized knowledge, but we also become inculcated in a particular way of examining or talking about the world that breeds distrust against other approaches and a belief that our methodology is the best. So I was reading about this gentleman called Joe Henrich, an anthropologist who used game theory rather than more traditional ethnography to elucidate cross-cultural differences in gift giving and human behavior. So a subject like anthropology, and he's bringing in game theory. And what was the reaction? What was the reaction among his peers, among his colleagues? Rather than embracing the capacity for other fields to enhance understanding, many anthropologists, his peers, felt threatened by this methodological promiscuity, finding it unethical, heavy-handed, and invasive. So I think a key aspect to achieving interdisciplinary, any kind of interdisciplinary cooperation, research, is through design of physical and social spaces, creating spaces where people continuously come into contact with people outside their discipline in natural, casual social setting. Over and over again, helps develop social networks and eventually become the source of intellectual inspiration and creativity. So I think globally, one institution which has done a lot of work in this regard is Stanford University. It is one of the pioneers in promoting interdisciplinary education. And I was reading about how physical spaces at Stanford are designed and how it actually helps. How at times The building has, in fact, many of its common spaces are designed in such a way that they are common spaces where research scholars from different departments, they collaborate with each other, shared spaces. And the whole objective is to facilitate this entire cooperation. And also, if you look at results, I was reading about a program called Biodesign Innovation Program at Stanford, which brought together engineers, business students, medical students into small teams to come up with solutions to medical problems. Unique, like in a group, you also have somebody from the business side of it, somebody who understands the medicine, somebody who's a hardcore technical guy. And the group, after working together, they actually came up with a device. They invented a device and got it patented, which can be used to cool the heart during a heart attack as uninvasively as possible. This particular experience emphasized the ability of different perspectives to develop innovative solutions to existing problems. And I think Stanford School is one of the latest examples of innovation in this particular area. So I think that's one part. I think the whole objective should be creating more opportunities that bring together scholars from different fields, which will inspire academics to look outwards beyond publication counts and grant writing to see how their research can be applied to solving real-world problems. So these are a few thoughts that I wanted to share with all of you. This is a very interesting topic. And I think my take on this was more, I'll say, more holistic and an outsider's perspective. To understand more about this topic, and especially from a K-12 perspective and its implication on our schooling system and how this particular topic is catered to, we have a very eminent panel here today. Very senior educators, very senior educators with decades of experience. And I really look forward to hear from them, their take on this very interesting topic. I thank all of you for giving me a patient hearing. Over to you, Shoaib.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we do have a fantastic panel lined up for you. But before we start with the panel discussion, a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech platform. We produce short videos that pertain to the school curriculum. That means every topic from every subject in the school syllabus, you will find short learning videos here on Notebook. These videos come in handy in two cases. One is when you as a teacher want to start teaching a new topic, you could play these short videos as a visual introduction to the topic that you're about to teach. Also, months later, when the students want to revise whatever you have taught, they have access to the same videos on their personal devices at home. Be it a laptop or a smartphone or whatever device they have, they can watch these videos over and over again until they get a good grasp over the topic. Since we're talking about multidisciplinary education today, we thought we would play a small segment of one of the Notebook videos that talks about global art and philosophy. Here is a short snippet from one of our Notebook videos.
These two contrasting stories are used to highlight the differences between the objectives and approaches of Chinese and European paintings. European paintings are traditionally more figurative and realistic, while the Chinese arts are more abstract. Chinese paintings are abstract since they cannot be explained or defined in real terms. One has to feel or experience the artist's point of view. A Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes or see exactly what he does. He wants you to experience the essence of the inner life and spirit of the painting. European paintings stress on illusionistic likeness, where the painter wants you to borrow his eye while viewing his painting. He chooses a single viewpoint and wants his viewers to look at the painting from the same viewpoint as his own. Chinese paintings do not have a single viewpoint. The landscape drawn is not a real one, and one can enter it from whichever viewpoint he or she wants to. The Chinese painter wants the viewers to actively participate in viewing a painting using his own physical and mental faculties. In the words of Jerzy Kosinski, the principle of true art is not to portray, but to evoke. The Chinese landscape is an inner mental landscape, a spiritual and conceptual space which is expressed as shanshui. It means mountain water and represents the landscape of the soul. This should explain to you the title of the chapter. It reflects the Taoist principle of viewing the universe. Taoism is a religious and philosophical tradition of Chinese origin. According to Taoism, this universe is composed of two opposite complementary poles, the yin and the yang. In a landscape presentation, the mountain forms the masculine yang, which reaches vertically upwards towards heaven. It is stable, warm, and dry in the sun. Its complementary opposite pole is the water, or the feminine yin, which flows horizontally on the earth and is fluid, moist, and cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a short snippet of one of the notebook videos. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, or to our mobile apps for Android and iOS, you will find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. Well, with that done, it is now time to introduce the wonderful panel that we have with us today. We are privileged to have with us Mr. S. Vidyashankar, who is the principal of the Amrita Vidyalayam Senior Secondary School in Tirupur, Tamil Nadu, India. He has a master's degree in chemistry and a master's degree in education, and a total of 27 years of experience in the field of education, which includes 7 years of experience as school principal and 5 years as vice principal and head of boys section at Ideal Indian School, Doha, Qatar, and 15 years of teaching experience at senior postgraduate teacher level in chemistry in well-reputed CBSE and IB schools in India and abroad. He has visited many schools, such as the United World College, Southeast Asia, Overseas Family School in Singapore, Indian School, Muscat, and visited many countries like Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Oman, UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar. He has served as observer and center superintendent for CBSE board examinations for many years. He has conducted workshops and in-service programs for teachers on various topics. He has also done a master's degree in philosophy of applied chemistry. He has a great passion for teaching and for providing healthy and conducive atmosphere for the teaching learning process to make it more meaningful, enjoyable, and everlasting. He also strongly believes that the paradigm shift that education has seen in the last 10 years from teacher-centered education to child-centered education has broken the traditional ways of teaching. Sir, thank you so much for being here today. It's a privilege to have you. We also have with us Mr. Nahid Raza. He believes in learning better together. He has done his MA in English, a B.Ed, and a postgraduate diploma in school leadership and management. He has taught English for around 10 years. He has been working as a school principal for 8 years. He has delivered talks at inter-school debate competitions as judge in Herman Minor School, Bhimtal. He delivered talk in All India School Principals Conference at TDI International School, Sonipat. He conducted a workshop on classroom management at Petals World School, Sikar. He conducted corporate training on transforming organization at Pioneer Consultancy Services in Moradabad. Sir, thank you so much for sparing the time to be on this panel today. We are privileged to have you. We also have with us Mr. Jaimon Melakudi, who holds an MA, a B.Ed in English, and a PhD on the problems of ELT in senior secondary classes under Madurai Kamaraj University. At present, he is the principal of the Senior Secondary MES Central School in Tirur, Malappuram. He's won various awards, to name a few: an Outstanding Achievement Award winner for Educational Development 2017, the APJ Abdul Kalam Academic Leader Award 2020 by Social Research Society under Niti Aayog Mission, Government of India. He's attended various courses and training programs and has received various recognitions for his exemplary work. He was specially invited by the CBSE Academic Research Wing to share the best practices of the excellent result, being the principal of Airport School for the outstanding result. Only one school in Canada scoring complete A1 for all subjects with 10-point CGPA for more than 50% of appeared students in AISSE for 3 consecutive years, 2011, 2012, and 2013. He's also the winner of the Excellent School Award from the Sahodaya School Complexes, Malappuram region in 2012, 13, 14, and 15. He received special appreciation from the Honorable Union Minister for Human Resource Development, Mrs. Smriti Irani, for the excellent result of the school in secondary and senior secondary classes. He has been a CBSE resource person and has conducted various training programs on CCE, life skills, gender sensitivity, classroom management for principals and teachers all over Kerala as the assignment of CBSE Centre of Excellence, Trivandrum. He has been the recipient of Outstanding Achievement Award for Educational Development 2017 by the Economic for Health and Educational Growth, Delhi. He's been the city coordinator for NEET and UGC NET and published various research papers in national and international journals. Sir, it's a privilege to have you here. Thank you so much for making the time. I would request all of you to kindly switch on your cameras now, as I would do the same. And I shall stop my share now. Once again, a very good evening and welcome to the panel. I don't see Dr. Velakudi here. Gauri, could you please check with sir if he's having problems joining, because I know he had joined earlier. There might be a bit of a network issue at his end. In the meantime, Mr. Vidyashankar sir and Mr. Raza sir, thank you so much for being here. My first question is for Mr. Vidyashankar. Sir, in your experience, sir, what are the practical difficulties that you face while encouraging students to adopt multidisciplinary methods, or even teachers while practicing multidisciplinary education?
Good evening, and thank you very much for your kind words. Good evening to everybody here. Actually, one of the biggest problems when we face, I was an IB teacher in Chinmaya International School maybe 20 years ago. I was founder IB teacher there, chemistry teacher. That time, IB is actually exactly the multidisciplinary program. In class 11th, 12th diploma courses, you have a hexagon where the commerce students have to take one science minimum. And then science students also have to take one humanities, one art. Like that, you have a combination of different, exactly the multidisciplinary program. One of the problem the students really first they think is they get confused with choices that they have to make. So too many combinations, distractions. They, what we do, what we used to do really, in first 1 week of 1 or 2 weeks of the classes, the children will be attending all the subjects. The teachers, they will choose the subject, they will choose this teacher they want, they will choose the levels, their higher level or the standard level. So this combinations little confuse them. So it's very important to guide them, to tell them what's their choice and what actually they really want to do in life and what they're comfortable with. It's important to give a guidance and counseling. That's where the important thing that we play, actually. We have a team of teachers and team of experts who will be doing the counseling, taking them to right choice. That's one of the biggest challenge that we can overcome by giving them, the solutions, by, finding out what are the problems that they will be facing, what is their actual choice, and what is their desire to come up. All these things we'll be finding out and will be according to their ability, capability, potential. We guide them properly. We have some kind of tests also, which tell them that what kind of skills they have, which they nurture, and then they become good persons, right? Good with good achievements. So that's one of the important things. Then second thing is actually they get confused. Sometimes this creates confusion because lot of options, lot of things. When they get confused. And in between teaching, learning also they get confused. Sir, is it coming under this? So it's very, very important in every stage of things to pick them. When they go right, we should encourage them. When they go wrong, when they deviate, make them to track, back to the track. That's very important. Make them do that. They should fall in line. And then you guide them, they become very, very successful. And I tell you, I was the IB examiner also, that we have seen the children coming up, even the multidisciplinary projects also do very well. Only thing we need constant guidance, encouragement. Then the children come up, and I have seen many of my children have done very well. Even after the IB exam, they have appeared for our competitive examination. At that time, we used to have, the not NEET. We had a different pre-medical examination. The children used to clear very well, even if for an IB. So I think it's very important to guide them. I think this is one of the best approach because children loved it. They enjoy doing it. That's one of the things. The key thing is the interest. It creates interest. It breaks the monotony. Our children were doing very, very well. Lot of examples are here. So the key point figure is actually these disadvantages are very few, which can be overcome by our correct guiding. Correct guidance, if we give, they will be all right. I think I got my point. Hope.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, you struck a chord with what we believe very at the core of Notebook is that merit, we believe, is spread almost evenly. It's the engagement level that differs. And if the method can engage a student better with a particular topic, learning is going to be more. That's a wonderful approach, sir.
Thank you,
Mr. Raza, sir, if I may come to you next. Sir, Mr. Vidyashankar spoke about the student side of things. Sir, while implementing this from the teacher side, especially teachers who have themselves learned and grown up in what was a single discipline system, do you see challenges there, practical challenges in implementing multidisciplinary education?
Good evening, everyone. I feel that, children do not form their own opinion. Opinion is transferred by their parents, society. So what is happening is whatever is prevailing, we are carrying it forward. Nothing new, no rearrangement, no innovation, and things are not renewed. Let children decide. And this is what is happening from the beginning. Child is happy at home. When he goes to school, he starts crying. It means that multidisciplinary education is there at home. When he comes to school, then monotonous atmosphere takes place. So we should allow children to do what they want in the form of education, and self-education is the only education. Leonardo da Vinci applied science and designing, say drawing, and he developed. Thereafter, Steve Jobs did the same. There are the two juniors who transformed the world. Paradigm shift was there, right? Likewise, consistency of Steve Jobs and his coding transformed the computing skills, right, sir? So what is happening is that teachers are also, we are also doing the same. We are teaching, say, I'm teaching English. I am having a bit less knowledge of anthropology, psychology, theology, right? Architecture, because I am having less exposure. We need to explore, we need to talk to children, we need to talk to parents, we need to talk to administrator. Once I visited Microsoft Hyderabad, sir. What is happening? No, I saw diversity. Is there diversity? Then I thought that why diversity? This my diversity. They should hire only the ones who are good in computing skills and development software. What I found there means diversity brings up innovation, new things. So what is happening? We are talking about the numbers. We are talking about the mark sheet. We are not talking about practical aspect, pragmatism. So if we are, and moreover, sir, we should listen to children. We need to redesign our this seating arrangement. Children are not interacting. Teacher is facing children, children are facing students. So there should be no semicircular so that they can have interaction. Children are resource themselves. So my submission is that we should try to form opinion of children. They should form their own opinion in place of transferring things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. You brought in another very important aspect. Mr. Vidyashankar spoke about the engagement. You came in with empowerment. Sir, on the point of empowerment, do you think digital learning tools, like, so you teach English, the video that I played was from Landscape of the Soul. Now, in terms of self-learning, these digital tools, and I'm not just talking about ours, they help students do a lot of self-learning. But in terms of multidisciplinary education, sir, do you think digital tools have a role to play?
Very much. If you see, both hemisphere of brain, they both are active. Children love using social media. They should learn using education tools. So what we are doing, see, from monotony to interesting, enthusiasm, play, games, right? And all senses are involved. So children are involved more. They will love doing more. They will be getting involved. They will feel happy. They will not feel tired. And this regimentation of teachers could also be avoided. Children would be comfortable, right? So, sir, technology is doubling every 18 months. So we will have to adopt it. See what happened, 99% of species have been deleted from this planet. And the human has been developing. Why is it developing? Because human being is adapting. We have to adopt and adapt technology. We will have to take it. Otherwise, where will be leading to? It is very much required, sir. We don't want to barren. We want to fertile. We must have fertility in our brain, right, sir? So it is very much required that we should have education tools. We should have multimedia. We should have listening, speaking, right? We should empower children, and we should use these tools, because lot my transportation is there, manufacturing sectors, and lot many service sectors, right? So what we need to do, we need to modify things. So this technology could be very useful indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Vidyashankar, I'll come back to you, sir, on the same point of digital tools. So you've had an experience with IB and now in your current school. Sir, what are some of the best practices of using digital tools for multidisciplinary education?
Sir, exactly. Which one point which the use of tools help the children to think in different angles. Sometimes I was telling about one important thing. Sometimes they do not know their talents. They don't know how to identify the talents. This multidisciplinary approach, especially using different media tools, digital tools, these help them to approach the problem in variety of ways, in a multiple number of ways. So through their experience of learning during the teaching learning itself, at one point of time they try to identify, or rather they definitely identify their potential, where the spark is created among them, and they become they bring the best out of it. So it creates an opportunity for them to learn as well as to nurture their hidden potential. So one of the very, very important things, sir, I definitely agree that these digital tools not only create interest, but also to nurture their hidden potential. Because it is an experience which always, that's what the experiential learning is about it. When you make mistakes, you learn, you unlearn, and you do things which make you more confident. So that you develop, and then you bring the best out of that. And that's where the digital tools help them. Definitely, sir. There's no doubt at all.
Wonderful, sir. Sir, if I may stay with you, because again, we are digging into your wealth of experience, so I want to make the full use of that. So you've seen how schooling has changed over your vast experience. It was a very different shape and form maybe 20 years back. Today, it's a very different shape and form. Today, we're talking about multidisciplinary education. Would you want to take a guess and say that maybe 10 to 15 years from now, would a school, the routine of a school look very different? Would there be no more boxes saying subjects on a so-and-so day?
There will be a lot of change, but actually school still will play a very important role in, shaping up the minds of children. I tell you, it was actually 1995. When that time itself, I was working as a lecturer in a PhD College of Technology, one of the very reputed college in Tamil Nadu. That time even that time itself, they have thought of multidisciplinary streams. We had actually mechanical engineering. 20 years ago, I'm talking about. This mechanical engineering, and then you have electronics engineering. At that time itself, in the year 1996, we started mechatronics, a new branch. That time, very few takers were there. Now in mechatronics, it's a flourishing branch. Lot of potential, lot of future. You have a combination. This is very, very important. You have a combination of all the things. And we don't need actually the masters of one. We need also people of doing multitasking nowadays, which is having multi-skill. So we are going to have a wonderful world ahead with a multidisciplinary approach, and more See, the concept of applied science came in the 1990s, I remember. This concept of applied science itself is actually a multidisciplinary approach, where you have all the physics, chemistry, mathematics, computations, all the things came together, and it's a huge success. Nowadays, we have MSc integrated applied science. So integrating and giving in multidisciplinary approach is becoming a greater impact on all the sides, all the spheres of education, whether it is starting from medicine to engineering or any textile or any industries. You take this, which we need people with multi skills, because it's nowadays a person who does two person who the two persons work are carried away by one person if the person knows the two skills together. The situation can be managed very easily. Crisis can be managed. If one machine suddenly stops working, and a person with dual skills or multi skills can easily solve the problem. So this definitely is going to have a greater impact on our education. We will be having the schools with all multidisciplinary approach. As you said, we may have the schools soon like that. But still, it's very important to, as I said, it has got its own merits and demerits. And the demerits have to be overcome with the help of constant guiding and constant guidance and encouragement, and in taking them in the right direction. That's the only one key area which really everybody should focus on. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful, sir. So you started by saying schools are not going anywhere, and I completely agree. The one thing that we have realized, this is our episode 159. The learning that I have from 159 episodes is that schools are so much more than where people go to study. The entire holistic development of the child, the growth of a personality, their tastes, their value system, everything is dictated by the school and the teachers that the student is surrounded with. And that importance cannot possibly be overstated. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
I just wanted to add one point here. Actually, when you say the multidisciplinary, there is one important core which even our Amrita stands for, is the value system. As you do all multitasking without value, it is going to be zero. For a person who is going to be very successful, he must have that value system. He should know the tradition, the culture, which makes, so it's very, very important. The school is the only place where the child can get this. Because in the society is different now, the atmosphere at home is different. The child comes from different background, different situations, different surroundings, different situations. But when he comes to school, he enjoys doing it because there the atmosphere is created by the school, where the child gets all these things together along with the education. That's very, very important.
So true,
Therefore,
sir.
the schools definitely play a very important role.
Very true, sir. Mr. Raza, sir, if I may come to you. Sir, we have people who are very young now, maybe people in schools and colleges who aspire to be teachers. Now, given this changing landscape and particularly keeping in view multidisciplinary education, how would you want them to prepare differently when they are becoming teachers of tomorrow?
First of all, their own subject, they should be master of their own subject. Then digital tool we have discussed. Connection with the children, their own soft skills, right? And how to maintain and communicate themselves. These are 5 major things. Rest, the more the merrier.
Wonderful, sir. But my understanding of multidisciplinary is it's also very flexible. Unlike the conventional syllabus, it's not unidirectional.
Sir, I think you lost audio. We lost your audio, I think.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can hear now.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, I was asking that if you're talking about a situation where you have multidisciplinary education and students are being asked to research, right? That's fundamental to the multidisciplinary system.
Yes.
Google research itself will take 10 students in 10 different directions. This is very different from our conventional unidirectional approach to a subject. How does a teacher prepare for that, sir?
So actually, it's one point which I want. Actually, in IB also, it's a multidisciplinary. As I said, it's one of the key factors, the research. You prepare a child to have a scientific temperament. That's one of the important things about multidisciplinary. In fact, I was a chemistry IB teacher, and then I was taking both higher level and standard level. You have an extended essay to be done. It's almost a mini research project where a child has to do one research. This will carry 3-point scale for them. It's the children you never used to, take the sciences so easily because they get scared of things. In one batch, I remember we had 31 IB students. That 17 students were doing chemistry extended essay. So it's very, very important because how we take the children towards them. So it's very important the teacher gets prepared by himself. The teacher must read a lot. He must have the vision of doing things. That was the thing which I was able to do it. And one of the extended essay research, we actually took the actual research to one of the national science exhibition, and that was organized by Intel along with our CBSE in I think it was in 2001, and that project was awarded at the best at the national level, best project at the best chemistry project at the national level. That was possible only because the children were able to do this, as you said, the multitasking, linking all the branches of their knowledge with the core, with the focused topic, so that they, it's very important. They know many things about the lesser area of the post. That's the main important part of the research, right? So it's very, very important. They connect the subject. For that, the teachers have to prepare. They have to look at the problem on different angles. For any problem, there will be hundreds of solutions, but the children, the teacher must be able to guide the children, or rather make the children to go in a direction where they try to find out the problem at different angles and find out the solutions. So the teacher should be well prepared. The teacher should have a greater insight of penetrating into the subject, as well as going horizontally as well as vertically. That's the best advantage of our multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Those are all the questions that I had. Thank you both so much for making the time to be here today, and for joining our system where we have today connected with over 100,000 teachers, and we take on these topics, and every time we do, principals like you come and add so much of value. Mr. Vidyashankar, sir, thank you so much for being here. I think you made some very, very key points in today's discussion. If I had to summarize, sir, the value system that your institution promotes is very, very important as a part of the entire multidisciplinary approach. So you spoke about engagement of the students, which is core, as in rising their curiosity. And sir, as you said, a teacher has to be very well read, has to be phenomenally aware for the system of multidisciplinary education to really succeed. So thank you so much. Your points were very well taken. Mr. Raza, sir, thank you so much for being here. Sir, I love your approach that the student's mind is unfortunately being forced upon by other factors. And so if you can empower a student, give him the right set of digital tools, make that student a curious soul, then that student will find his or her own path through the various disciplines, which I think is the most spirited embodiment of the multidisciplinary system of education. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, sir. And also, sir, your point that a teacher needs to be very, very confident of his or her own subject. Besides the being well-read, vastly read part of it, the tremendous strength of knowledge in your own subject is going to be key when the diversity of subjects happen. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. To everybody in the audience, thank you so much for being with us here today again. We've had a wonderful discussion, and we'll keep bringing you such more discussions over the next few weeks. Until we meet again, please stay safe, take care, and goodbye.
Thank you.